Hello and welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. This is the show where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a, a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What is up, you guys? Yeah, Wednesday. That means we're back with another RPG deep dive, and tonight we are talking about some more of this Conan RPG. Not that button, Tim, this button. Let's get to it. This is the Conan RPG published by Modifius. Pretty awesome. I'm kind of digging it so far. I've had a few, a few pet peeves with this chapter, though, on game mechanics. And that's what we're going to be covering tonight, is the game mechanics. This chapter just seemed really, it needed another edit. A lot of the sections are way out of place. Like, they'll talk about something in the beginning, and then they'll talk about something else, and they'll go back to talking about that first thing, they'll go back to talking about something else, and it seems really jumbled, and I had to kind of flip around. I had to read it and then flip back and forth when I was writing my notes, and it was a little bit cumbersome. And it just could use another edit for my taste. But let's dive in and kind of talk about the mechanics first of all. So now tonight we're talking about just the mechanics, not the combat, although I could have probably combined them together. The combat section, I wanted to give it kind of its own stream, just because it's a little bit easier for people to digest instead of putting a whole lot of stuff together. And also people can search it later on like they do on YouTube. And so it makes it easier for them to find if they're just looking for stuff about the combat mechanics. So yeah, I'm going to split that up and do that on next stream. Do me a favor real quick, if you don't mind, go ahead and like the stream, share it. I like seeing new faces around here. Hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. I always appreciate new subscribers. Leave me a comment, say hi, say something. I'm always quick to get back to you guys when I see those. And I just really like seeing those comments, and they're just kind of encouraging, right? It's a lot of work that goes into these things, and it's nice to just see that people's out there, they're watching it and they're digging it, man. So I appreciate all the feedback. All right, let's dive right in to these game mechanics. Now, as we spoke about the other night, the Conan RPG uses the D20 as well as the D6 for their dice rolls. And most of the time, you're going to be using two D20s to resolve like your skill checks and things like that. And they call skill checks skill tests. Skill test. And there's also like a special D20 that's optional. I have it right here on this page. You won't be able to see it, but it's for hit location damage. It says it's optional. We'll find out more about it in the combat section when we go over that next week. But most of the time you're going to be using D20s and D6. Now you're going to use the D6 for your combat dice, and they are going to determine like your damage and your other special effects. Okay, so you're going to use your D20s more for skill test and your D6 to calculate damage for the most of the time. The combat die, the D6, is a little bit different in Conan from other games. It's a D6, but if you roll a 1 or a 2, those give you a 1 or 2 as a result. Okay, fair enough. Where it's different as if you roll a 3 or a 4, it doesn't mean anything, has no value whatsoever, not positive or negative. And if you roll a 5 or a 6, it has a value of not 5 or 6, but 1. And it gives you an effect along with it, such as like triggering a certain ability or something like that. And we'll be going over more of this as we talk about combat on the next stream, but it's a little bit different. So the D6, 1 and 2 have a value of 1 and 2. 5 and 6 have a value of 1 plus a special effect. If you roll a 3 or 4, it doesn't mean anything. So there you go. Now, what's up, Scott? Good to see you over there on Misfits of Tabletop. Good to see you, man. So that's kind of how the dice work. It's a little bit different. So and the way that they do the skill tests are a little bit different too, which we're going to be going into now. Now, in order to perform a skill test, what most RPGs call a skill check, you need to determine what they call a target number for the skill being attempted, right? And the target number is based on your attribute for the skill plus any ranks in expertise for the skill, because your skill has you have expertise and focus. So you're going to be looking at your attribute plus your expertise in that skill, and that's going to give you your target number. And what you're going to do is you're going to roll 2 D20s, and you're going to try to roll under your target number. So this is another one where a lower roll is actually better. Okay, so you're going to try to roll underneath your attribute plus your expertise skill for that skill check. All right, and now for each die roll under that target number that you get for that roll, you're going to get one success. All right, so if you're rolling 2 dice and you roll under both of those dice, you're going to get 2 successes. Now for each die roll under your skills focus, not the expertise, but the skills focus, then you're going to get an additional 2 successes. So let me give you an example here. Let's say that Scott is attempting to resist fatigue. All right, and let's say Scott's brawn attribute is 10. And his resistance expertise skill is 2, all right? And let's say its resistance focus skill is 2, all right? We need to take his brawn attribute, which is 10, his resistance expertise skill, which is 2, and so that's going to make 12 the target number. So he's going to have to roll a 12 or less to get a success, right? And we'll worry about the resistance focus skill after the roll. So let's say he rolls 2 d20s and he gets a 2 on one and a 9 on another. Remember, the lowest score is better. So he got a 2 and a 9. Those are both pretty good rolls. So both of those rolls are actually under the target number of 12, meaning he has 2 successes. But remember that the resistance focus skill is a 2, and he did roll a 2 on one of the dice. This means that he's going to pick up an additional success, giving him a total of 3 successes for that, right? So that's kind of how skill checks do. You have the target number, which is your attribute, plus your expertise skill in that particular skill. That's going to give you your target number. You're going to try to roll underneath those target numbers for a number of successes. But how many successes do you need, Tim? I'm glad you asked that question. The amount of successes that you need is determined by the difficulty of the task, okay? In the difficulty rankings, they have this nice little chart here for us. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, that goes right along with the D6 we're going to roll. But your D6, not D6, there are 6 different difficulty rankings, and they're going to be defined by the GM. Okay, so 0 is going to be like super easy, and then 5 is going to be considered epic, right? So a 0 might be something like opening a slightly stuck door or researching a widely known subject, hitting a stationary archery target during practice. That's going to be very simple for you to do, and it's going to require 0 successes, all right? Now, average, what they say is the most common difficulty level is average, which is 1 success, is something like overcoming a simple lock or researching a special subject or shooting an enemy at an optimal range, okay? So, and it ranks all the way up to, like epic D5 is shooting an enemy at extreme range in poor light and heavy rain. That would be almost impossible. So that would be epic. That seems complicated for no reason. Yeah, I know. But it actually makes a little bit of sense. I think you get used to it as you played it. But yeah, it is a little weird. Now, let's talk about the difficulty some more. Like I said, the most average common difficulty is a difficulty of 1, meaning you're going to need 1 success. And certain things can either increase or decrease the difficulty of a task. Like certain abilities can actually decrease and lower that step of a task, difficulty step of a task. I'll get it out. But a lot of things are going to raise that difficulty step as well. And they have like a little bit of a difficulty modifier chart over here. And it has different things like poor weather, random motion, unfamiliarity or complexity, lighting, combinations, like all these weird things, that difficult terrain that could make your difficulty go up, right? Make it harder for you to be able to do something, right? And the more D20s that you're going to roll, all right, the more chances you have of meeting or exceeding the difficulty of a task, obviously. And we're going to be going over, because there are ways that you can actually increase the number of D20s that you roll. You're not only always just going to roll a D20. So remember that any successes scored above the difficulty level, all right, so if you roll on a difficulty level of 1, you need 1 success. But let's say you rolled 3 successes, right? Well, then you're going to have 2 extras. And those are going to go into what's known as a momentum pool to be used for additional benefits and bonuses. And we're going to be going over momentum just a little bit later on in the stream. But first, I want to touch on what they call complications. So even when a plan succeeds, not every situation, of course, is going to go smoothly. We know this. You might get something done, but that doesn't mean that you get it done without any issues, right? Like when I'm working on my car, I might be able to fix the car, but I busted up my knuckles in the process, right? Not everything goes perfectly smooth, even though I was successful. And in Conan, they actually have a mechanic for that, and it's called a complication. And so if you roll, Jesse asked, who's producing the Conan RPG? Yeah, Modifius was the producer. 2D20 was the company, and Modifius is the publisher. I'll get that out. Yeah, Modifius is the publisher. And if that's wrong, somebody correct me, because I think once before, a long time ago, I said it was made by Modifius, and that wasn't true. They were the publisher. So yeah, if I get something wrong, just let me know, because I mess up a lot. I don't mind messing up. So okay, yeah, Modifius. Yes. All right, but I want to tell you guys about this complication. So this is when not everything goes smooth, but you still succeed. And remember, in Conan, you want to roll low on your D20s, right? And if you roll a natural 20 on your D20, that's actually a bad thing. It's not horrible, it's just kind of bad. Now, whenever you roll a 20 in Conan, you will get an impediment or a problem that has to be applied to your character or to the situation that your character finds themselves in. And maybe an escape route is now blocked, or maybe you drop your weapon, or the door is stuck that you were trying to get out of. And it won't be something that injures you directly, but it's just supposed to be like a temporary roadblock. Okay, so that's if you roll a natural 20. Now, complications are totally independent of success or failure, right? So you can roll 2d20 and get one success, which is all you need for if you're doing an average one difficulty, right? All you need is one success. But on the other d20, you roll a 20. You roll a natural 20, which is going to make you get a complication. So it doesn't negate your success. So like if you're fighting or something like that, and you're trying to hit somebody, you're going to be able to hit them, but then you're going to drop your sword after the fight, or something else is going to happen to you. Some complication is going to arise of it, even though what you're trying to do was successful. Okay. Now, they do tell us that if a suitable complication cannot be decided, then the GM can choose to add 2 points of what's called Doom to the Doom pool. All right. And Doom is a resource that the GM can use to kind of make life a little bit more difficult on the players. And they can also use it to like buff up some NPCs if they want to. And the player characters can see like how much Doom pool the DM has, or the GM has, at any time. They kind of have it with these like tokens. And so you can see like the little bowl starting to fill up with these Doom points. And they say it's supposed to build tension with the players. Now, we're going to be covering Doom and Doom pools later on in the GM section. We've seen some similar things like this in the past. I'm not a big fan on it just because I think it kind of pits the GM against the players a little bit. I'm just not a fan of anything that goes along with that. But I kind of see it's like, hey, no, I'm the GM. I'm going to make life bad on you because I've got all these Doom points that I have to spend. And I don't know. That just is supposed to kind of take it off the personality of the GM, I guess, and make it on the Doom points themselves. But I've just never seen one that seems like it would work well to me. So yeah, if you can't find a complication, if you roll a natural 20, you can't find a complication, you can actually choose to add Doom points instead of taking a complication, or the DM can say, that just add 2 points to the Doom pool. All right. So there you go. But we'll be covering Doom pools later on. All right. All right. Now let's talk about improving your odds, because like I said, there are some things you can do to improve your odds. Now, so if you're doing a skill test and you want to, you're normally going to roll 2d20s, and you want to improve those, you can't improve your roll. You can, but it's going to come at a cost. And they have a few different things that you can do. One of them is creating an opportunity. And this is where you're going to spend what's called your momentum points to gain a d20 to roll for your skill test. Did I go over? I didn't go over momentum yet. That's next. So just know that you'll be able to, and this is what I'm talking about. Like a lot of stuff was out of order when I'm reading it. And some of it I missed trying to put it all in order like this. But so momentum points is something that you can gain and spend, and I'll talk about those next. But just know that you can spend your momentum points to gain an extra d20 on a roll for your skill test. You can also add to Doom. So each point of Doom that you give the GM, you can gain a d20 to add to your roll. And so if I want to give the GM 2 Doom points, then I can add 2d2 to my roll, right? You can also use Fortune which players have like a very limited supply of this fortune that they can use to gain bonus D20s. And if they do so, this fortune is kind of like a special thing. If you use your fortune points in this way, then it's kind of like you pre-rolled your D20, and you got a 1 on it, which is like a crit, like a great thing. So you will always give you 1 on that roll. So if you're going to use your points in this way, you'll just take your D20 and put it on a 1 and put it on the table. And that will tell you that, yeah, this one I use my fortune points for. And so that one's automatically a 1. And then you'll roll your other dice with it, right? You can also expend resources. They said that there's some types of resources that are in the game that allows player to kind of carry these things around that are kind of designed just for increasing the odds. They say things like ammunition, I'll get it out, ammunition, reloads, alchemical supplies, medical supplies, things like that can be used to gain advantages on your die roll as well. And then finally, you can use teamwork and assistance on your die rolls. And I think this was kind of neat. So if you're attempting to do something and you're kind of like, it's very difficult. Well, if it makes sense logically, other people can kind of assist you on your roll. And how this works is they're going to declare, I don't know if I'm making the roll, then I'm going to be declared the lead on this roll, and the other people are going to be considered the assistants. And they don't have to have any skill in what I'm attempting to do whatsoever. And what we're going to do is we're going to roll our D20s out, and we're going to add up our successes. Now, that's not like it's a little twist to it. Now, if I fail as the lead, if I fail my success, if I don't get any successes, then nobody else's count. All right. But if I pass mine, then everybody else's is taken into account, and all the successes are added up together. So yeah, if I fail mine, then all those other successes that are out there just go to waste. Right. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about momentum. Yeah, basically bardic inspiration. Yeah, I guess so. I'm not really familiar with bardic inspiration. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. If you're talking about like teamwork and assistance, I guess. If tell me what bardic inspiration is, Adam over on Facebook is talking to me about this. Let me know. Let me move on to momentum while you're typing that out, and then we'll come back and read your comment. All right, so remember they kind of mentioned momentum just a little bit earlier. And if you remember back when you're rolling your successes, any success over the amount that you need for the difficulty is going to give you what's called momentum. And it's going to go to this momentum pool that the whole group has access to. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like I gained 5 momentum and Scott only gained 1, but yet there he is pulling out of this group momentum pool. I don't know, but that's how it works in here. That's how it works. And you can use these momentum points to do things like increase damage, and you can increase your damage after you roll your damage roll. So you can see, okay, well, I didn't roll very good, so I'm going to take a momentum point, and I'm going to add that to my damage. You can add a D20 to a skill check by using one of those momentum points. You can choose to make something difficult for someone else, like an NPC or a player character. And I thought this was kind of cool. You can increase their difficulties by step by spending one of your momentum points. You can obtain information. This is kind of cool, where you can spend your momentum points to gain knowledge about a specific NPC or a situation that you're in. There's some limits to that. You can improve your quality of success. So like if you wanted to succeed with style with something, then maybe you want to impress some people or something like that, you might be able to use a momentum point for that. You can affect additional targets or like a larger area if you're doing certain things by using momentum points. You can do things like reduce the time required for a certain type of task. Let's say I'm fixing my car, back on that. That's not even in the game, but then maybe I fixed it in half the time because I spent momentum points. So you can do all types of things with your momentum points. And there's a maximum of 6 that can be in this group pool at any time. So you want to make sure that you're using them and that your teammates are using them as well, because it seems like you're going to fill it up pretty quickly, and anything over 6 is going to go to waste. So you want to make sure that you're using those momentum points all the time, if that makes sense. Adam on Facebook tells me you can inspire others through stirring words or music. To do so, you use a bonus action on your turn to choose one creature other than yourself within 60 feet of you who can hear you. That creature gains one bardic inspiration die, a d6. A creature can only have one bardic inspiration die at a time. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, similar to that. Definitely, for sure. Thanks for explaining that to me, Adam, for sure. I think that's about it. Now we're going to be covering, this one was a little bit shorter, but it was going to be super long if I put combat in there. So I wanted to make sure I split combat out. Let me see here. Yeah, I got all the things you can do momentum for. Yeah, and that's really about it. So the basic mechanics, they're fairly simple. There's a few little twists in there, like the extra step of the target number being your attribute plus your expertise skill. And then your skill having your expertise and focus is a little bit confusing. And then the number of successes being the difficulty. There's like a, I don't know, there's like an extra couple layers in there that seems a little bit more complicated than some of them. But I kind of understand why they're doing some of those things. And I'm hoping that combat kind of clears up some of this a little bit when we get to that. So yeah, the combat section is going to be next. And like I said, I could have included it today, but I wanted to break them apart from each other so that they're more digestible and they're more searchable for people that like watching back later. They're going to go, I don't care about the mechanics, I just want to see the combat. Or I don't care about combat, I can just watch mechanics. And so a lot of people seem to be liking that. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. And what's today? Wednesday. So Monday, I'll be diving into the combat section of the Conan RPG. And it's actually not even called combat. They call it action scenes. So it's not combat, it's action scenes. All right, well, let's figure out how all that works. We'll be learning about fighting and ranged and melee attacks and reactions and all that kind of fun stuff when we go about combat on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And we will see you all on next time. Good night. Bye.